day traders, Raghee here as we go into the Thanksgiving holiday Thursday and the half trading day Friday. We're at a bit of a crossroads for the week, and it makes a lot of sense between now and the last trading day of the month, which is going to be Thursday, November 30. It makes a lot of sense to maybe shorten time frames and let the end of month create some intraday volatility while we sort of step back and see how November wants to wrap up, leading us into what it is we're going to do in December. So here's how I'm going to prepare for this. I'm going to do these three things. So number one, I'm going to focus on day trading, at least between now until next Thursday, the 30th. I'm going to focus on short-term time frames. And that's going to allow me to focus on the first 65 minutes of the day trade for about 1 hour and 5 minutes, and then be done. Because I know for a lot of you, myself included, we've got family in town, we've got things going on, and it's going to be difficult to dedicate ourselves to this holiday weekend. You know, leading into the weekend, we definitely want to be short term, but what about next week? And that brings me to the second thing. So keep it short term, keep it nimble. Now, by the way, in December, we're going to definitely start to turn the swing trades back on. And I'll show you the calendar here in a moment. But as we go into December, here's a second thing that I'm going to do with the members. And that is I'm going to pull up the entire year. Now, we've already started to do this, so some of you probably seen me do this. I'm going to pull up the entire year, and I'm going to go find the 3rd of January. This is the first trading day of the year. And I'm going to mark what the close was. So for example, 38.43 and a quarter, or just visually look at it, 38.43 and a quarter. And I'm going to ask myself where we are right now. Are we up or down on the year? Well, clearly we are very much up on the year in the S&P, right? So I don't know where all the naysayers are. I imagine they're pretty quiet right now. Where are those calamitous crashes that everyone's been talking about all year? Trade what we see, not what we think. I know this is something I keep harping on, but believe me, gang, this is not the last year. We're going to have folks running around telling everyone that a disaster is around the corner. All right? And all those folks now, I imagine, are singing a different tune. But here's the problem. I don't mind what they do. Good for them, right? They can garner their audience however they want. I'm looking to find trades for my audience. I'm looking to find high probability setups. And that means trading what I see, not what I think. And take a look at where we are. If the S&P does not remind us that we do not need lower yields in bonds, that we do not need a weak U.S. dollar to climb, here's where it's even more emphatic. Take a look at the NASDAQ. Here we are making new highs on the year. Okay, so you might say, Rog, at what point would we start thinking bullishly? And if you want something really simple, okay, so I mentioned the first thing I'm going to do for the remainder of November is day trade. The second thing I'm going to do is focus on those, where do we start the year and where are we now, right? And when can we start to be more bullish? So if you want a really easy way to make that decision, here's the easiest way to do it. I'm using the 200 propulsion. If you have this indicator, which we make freely available, it's available on the TradingView platform. It's available on TOS. If you're on TradingView, you can pull that up right from within the TradingView indicators. If you're on Thinkorswim, you can grab those, I believe, from countdowntrader.com. I do make these freely available to members of Simpler Trading as well. And if you don't have that, no problem. Just put a 200 period exponential moving average on your daily time frame. And when price can establish itself above this level, this is the bullish hemisphere. And that means the probability is to the upside. Even testing the 200 as we did in late October should be support. And then if you take this on over to the Dow, let's not use a well-chosen example. This one's really tricky, okay? When I'm above the 200, I'm going to remain relatively bullish. When we cross down below the 200, we're going to be relatively bearish. But it's not that simple. Why don't I like the Dow? And as we end the year, why am I not talking about it? Because if you've been following the videos, you know that I've been focusing on the NAS and the S&P. And the simple reason is two sectors, XLK technology, think Apple, Microsoft, and XLF. When these two sectors are able to climb as we are now, the S&P looks great. And I haven't been overwhelmingly bullish the Dow or the S&P most of the year. Most of the conversation has been about tech. That's because the three heavily weighted sectors in tech, XLK, look at that white series of dots, look at that white line. XLC, once again, any reason to be bearish here since about late March to mid-April? No reason to be bearish here. And then lastly, XLY. This has had the tougher climb, right? But this is the third heaviest weighted sector in the NAS. So as long as XLK and XLC can continue to climb, guess what also climbed with it? The NAS. Okay? And this has nothing to do with the nonsense about inverted yield curves and look at the 10-year yield or TNX, look how high it is. The NASDAQ didn't care, right? And that's what I'm trying to tell everyone. Please, 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 do not try to trade the market through correlation. Do not try to think that just because this one market is doing something, the other one must respond in kind. That's not the way the indices and treasuries or the indices and currencies work. And yes, I know, gang, you might be thinking, Rog, I've heard differently. And that's okay, gang. Take it or leave it. I'm just here to share with you what I've been doing all year. I talk my book, right? I'm not talking about analysis. I'm not prognosticating about how high or how low something could go. I'm talking my book. I'm talking the setups that we put out in the Simpler Futures room and in my Sector Secrets Mastery, right? So even though yields have been generally higher throughout the year, and that's the 10-year, gang. Don't we typically hear, oh, the NASDAQ can't climb if the 10-year yield is higher? Take a look. I know. At this point, I might be irritating some folks. I hope that I'm sort of upsetting the pattern where you might be kind of locked into the 10-year moves the NASDAQ, or inverted yield curve spell doom, or, fill in the blank, that the correlation. Or gosh, even worse, can we just kill this last one? That the Russell leads the averages. I just wish this one would just crawl away somewhere and never rear its ugly head again. The Russell's been a mess all year, and that's because of KRE. And the Russell does not, in fact, lead the rest of the market. It doesn't even correlate when you actually look at the data. So be careful of folks telling you certain things, and then when you go to the chart, you go, wow, I don't see that panning out. The Russell's chopping around kind of just above where it started the year, and the NASDAQ's making a new high on the year. That's the disconnect. And we're not even above the equator on the Russell. I don't say these things, gang, to irritate. I don't say these things to poke. I say these things because I've heard this stuff repeated all day long and all year long, and gosh knows how much longer than that. And I know it's costing traders money. And I know it's not correct information. And incorrect expectations about what the markets can and will do are going to set up basically bad trades. And they're going to set up, and this is something we talked about this morning when we put on a couple trades. We got long the NASDAQ, got stopped out in a day trade, put on a long an Apple, and put on a long a Google. We did all right this morning considering the crazy movement. But one of the things that I mentioned, and this is going to apply to everything you do as a trader, targets are not trades. So if someone says this is where the NASDAQ or the S&P or the Dow or bonds are going, targets are not trades, right? Most people, sadly, will confuse that. Well, then what is a trade, Rog? A target's part of the trade. It's one of three pieces. We have an entry, we have a stop loss, we have a target. And if the path to the target is untenable, if the path to the target presents too much risk, then it's no longer a valid trade. And that's where a lot of traders get hurt. They say that, oh, then maybe the NAS is going to 17,000. Well, yeah, but what if it hits 14,000 first? Am I still trading for 17,000? Of course not. If the path to the target is untenable, it's not a trade. And I'm saying all this because I'm going to repeat this probably every chance I get before we get to the new year. Because my hope is that traders can maybe stop doing some of the things that they have been doing, confusing targets for trades, being completely, captured by folks who want to talk about crashes and way, 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 way low targets from where we are right now. I get how appealing that is. I think there's some folks out not right now are thinking, oh, we're going to crash from here. Let's keep the short-term time frame. Let's make sure we know where we are in terms of the 200 exponential moving average and where we started on the year. And here's the third thing that I'm going to recommend traders do. Come December, and even maybe next month, let's think about 1 hour time frame swing trades with a 1 to 3 day time horizon. Because what's going to happen in December is we're going to start to see 3 seasonal phenomena. All right. Number one, probably going into the second week of December, we'll start to see the window dressing. And we'll also start to see some tax loss harvesting slowly. It's going to really be this, maybe the last 2 to 3 weeks of the year, and the last 2 to 3 weeks of December, basically the same thing. It's not all going to happen at the very last trading day of the month, although it's likely to be more exaggerated. But as we go through the month, window dressing, strength gets stronger, tax loss harvesting, weakness gets weaker, is definitely going to be part of it. And here's the last piece, the Santa rally. Gang, the Santa rally is not something we even talk about in November. It's not even something we talk about in early or mid-December. The Santa rally is a very small window that occurs, let me show you here, that occurs basically just before Christmas. So figure it could start around the 22nd and it ends just before New Year's. So figure it's going to go to the 29th. So that's your window, the 22nd to the 29th. That's the Santa rally. And for those folks thinking, Rog, I thought the Santa rally creeps into the new year. Here's what I'll tell you. No smart money, if you want to call them that. I prefer to call them big money. No big money is buying into higher highs the first few trading days of the new year. That's retail money chasing momentum that they saw at the end of December. Don't be one of those people. Sheeple is what I should call them. Don't be that person. Those moves we see between the 22nd and the 29th will be most of what will be the Santa rally. And remember, the Santa rally is only likely to help the names that are already strong, uptrends, up on the year. I mean, does anyone think that a money manager wants to show their clients that they don't have exposure to tech? The things making new highs in the year. Think about what it's like for a money manager to tell their clients, look, we might see some great moves in regional banks, right? This thing's been hit hard all year long. We might see some great move in regional banks in 2024. And they're going to be happy about the underperforming ETF they have in their portfolio? Of course not. They're going to be ticked off. They're going to want to see, as the year is ending, that they've got those outperforming names, that they've got NVIDIA and Meta and the NASDAQ and maybe the S&P, right? They're going to look at things that have been surging. Recency bias is a thing. They're going to look at things that were surging and say, look, why don't I have this? Look for the bargain hunting. And we're going to have this phenomena. Look for the bargain hunting around the 2nd to 4th week of January. That's when portfolio managers have basically, a blank slate the whole year, 12 months ahead of them to outperform, right? But that's not what the end of the year is about. That's what I've observed in 30 plus years. Is it always going to be that way? Of course not. These are probabilities. These aren't certainties. It's like fishing. They call it fishing, not catching. And we're going to play the probabilities, knowing that if we cast to the right spot, we're likely going to catch something. And so let's remember the psychology at the end of the year, markedly different than the one at the beginning of the year. I hope this helps, gang. I'm not here to say that, what you may have heard doesn't necessarily work. But a lot of what I've heard repeated all year long has just flat out been terrible, misguided advice. And when I talk to traders thinking, Rog, I wish I would have heard you earlier this year. I would have been taking long positions. I wish that I would have been with you when you were building the portfolio with names like XLK, right? We have weekly positions we built in XLK at the end of last year because of certain macroeconomic things that we were going to see in 2023. Right? So this isn't just about day trading. This is not just about swing trading. This is about making sure you're positioning yourself in alignment with trends, not in alignment with fear mongering, which sadly I've seen way too much of this year. Anyway, I hope this helps, gang. I want y'all to win. I'm rooting for the retail trader. I think you all are the small group, including myself, right? We're the small group risking our own money, making our own decisions, right? And no one comes to bail us out. I'm not a hedge fund manager where if I blow up, some other hedgie's going to throw a couple $2 billion my way, right? That would be great, but that's not the reality. We're taking on our own risk. We're making our own decisions. I know we can win at this game, and these are just some of the things that I've found are going to be a reality between now and the end of the year. If you have any questions, if you agree with me, disagree, hey, I think healthy debate is great. Agree with me, disagree with me, but make it rooted in the data, all right? So that's what I've got for you all. Thank you as always for being a part of the Simpler Trading community, whether you're a member or not. I appreciate your time watching these videos. I cut a longer one today because, we're not going to have much until next week with the holidays and stuff. So I'll see you for Charts and Coffee, by the way. Thursday, I love the Thanksgiving Charts and Coffee. What better way than to give thanks to a fantastic community of traders that want to succeed in the markets. It's a privilege, gang. To be able to talk with you all and share these ideas. I never take that for granted. Be good to each other, and I'll talk with you soon.